I saw a stat in the research stack we're looking at today that honestly, it actually made me laugh out loud.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't even a medical statistic, it was more of a behavioral one. It said the average person over 40 spends a solid 10 seconds buffering when they stand up.
Oh, buffering.
Yeah.
Like a slow internet connection.
Exactly. Like you wake up, your feet hit the floor, you stand up, and then you just wait.
Right.
You wait for the hips to come online. You wait for the knees to realize they're actually supposed to bend today. And I read that and realized I did exactly that this morning.
It's the universal boot up sequence.
It really is. And I mean, it's funny until it isn't, right? Because I think for a lot of us, we have the script in our heads. We look at the calendar, we see the birthdays piling up, and we say, well, I guess this is it. I'm just old now. My parts are wearing out.
Yeah, the old tires theory.
Right, the old tires theory. We assume our cartilage is like the tread on a tire. Like you drive it for 50,000 miles, the rubber rubs off, and you're just left with the rim.
It feels very logical.
It does. It feels completely logical. But we are looking at a really fascinating stack of research today, centering around the science behind a product called Biodynamix Joint Genesis. And this research says that narrative is completely wrong.
It is wrong. And honestly, if you take absolutely nothing else away from this deep dive today, it should be this one thing. Your body is not a car.
Right.
Tires don't heal. Tires don't regenerate. Biological tissue does.
Mm-hmm.
The research argues that what we casually call wear and tear is actually something much more specific and, frankly, much more fixable.
So today we are going to unpack that. We're going to look at why we get stiff. And spoiler alert, it is not because you walked too much in your 20s.
Definitely not.
We're going to look at the drying out theory versus the wear and tear theory. And we're going to analyze this biodynamics protocol, not just as a product, but as a lens to understand how to actually hydrate a joint, because apparently just drinking water isn't enough.
It is not. There's a very specific chemistry involved.
And I definitely want to get into that because, I'll be honest, I'm a little skeptical. I see joint support and I immediately think snake oil.
Sure, that's fair.
So I want to push back on some of this today. And I am so relieved this isn't going to be some dense medical textbook discussion. We're really just talking about how to feel smoother when we move.
Exactly.
But let's start with the problem itself. If my knees aren't old tires wearing down, why do they feel like rusty hinges?
So to understand the rust, you really have to understand the anatomy first. And here is the killer stat from the source material that just blows the whole wear and tear theory completely out of the water. Cartilage is avascular.
Avascular,
Right.
meaning no blood vessels.
Zero.
Yeah.
None. Think about that for a second. Almost every other tissue in your body, muscle, skin, organs, it's all fed by a constant stream of blood delivering oxygen and nutrients.
But cartilage isn't?
No, cartilage is an island. It has absolutely no blood supply.
Wait, so how does it stay alive? If it's not getting any blood, how is it not just dead tissue in there?
It feeds like a sponge.
A sponge?
Yeah, this is the crucial biological mechanism. It sits inside a capsule filled with synovial fluid. When you move, like when you take a step, you compress that cartilage. You squeeze out the old waste-filled fluid.
Okay.
And then when you lift your foot, the pressure releases and the cartilage sucks in fresh, nutrient-rich synovial fluid.
Wow. Okay, that is a wild image. So movement isn't just exercise. Movement is literally the pump that feeds the tissue.
Precisely. And this is exactly why the wear and tear idea is so dangerous. If you think your knees are wearing out like old tires, what do?
You stop driving, you rest.
You rest. But if you stop moving in the vascular tissue, you stop the pump.
Yeah.
You are literally starving the cartilage.
That explains so much. That explains why my knees actually feel worse after sitting through a 3-hour movie than they do after going for a long walk.
Exactly. You've been starving them for 3 hours. But here is where the drying out theory really comes in. The source material highlights that as we age, the quality of that fluid, the actual food for the sponge, changes drastically.
Okay, let's dig into this fluid change. Because the sources talk a lot about hyaluronan, which, I mean, it sounds like something from a sci-fi movie.
It does.
But apparently it's the absolute key to this whole operation.
It is the hero molecule, yes. In a healthy young joint, let's say when you were 20, your synovial fluid is very thick. It's highly viscous. Think of it like a premium, heavy-duty motor oil, maybe 10W40.
Good.
It coats everything, it cushions the impact, and it is absolutely packed with hyaluronan.
So I'm just gliding along. My internal gears are coated in premium oil?
Right, you are gliding. But as we age, our bodies naturally produce less hyaluronan. And worse, there is an enzyme that actually starts attacking the hyaluronan we do have. So that thick protective oil starts to thin out. It essentially turns into water.
And water is terrible at lubrication.
Water doesn't cushion anything. If you rub two metal gears together with just water between them, they grind.
Yeah, they'd get destroyed.
Right, and that grinding is the rust you feel. It's not that your bone is gone or rubbed away. It's that the protective fluid has lost its viscosity. The sponge or cartilage starts to dehydrate because the fluid around it is too thin to be absorbed properly.
This is a huge distinction right here, because I think a lot of listeners, and I definitely include myself in this, assume that hydration just means drinking more water. I carry my water bottle everywhere. Are you telling me that's not helping my knees?
It helps your blood volume, sure, but here is the catch. And this is the core argument Biodynamix makes. You can drink 10 gallons of water a day, but if you are missing the hyaluronan in the joint capsule to actually hold that water, it simply doesn't matter.
Wow.
It's exactly like pouring water into a bucket that has a huge hole in the bottom.
You can't fill the bucket if the hole is there?
Exactly. Systemic hydration drinking water provides the raw material, but synovial hydration requires that specific molecule to bind the water and turn it into that thick jelly. If you don't have the molecule, the water just passes right through.
Okay, so this pivots us to the solution the sources are proposing. Biodynamix Joint Genesis. Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Please do.
We see supplements all the time promising to fix absolutely everything. How is this actually positioned in the literature? Is it claiming to regrow bone? Because that sounds scientifically impossible.
And that's exactly the kind of red flag we always look for in these deep dives. But no, looking closely at their literature, they are very careful about their claims. They aren't claiming to regrow a femur. They are positioning this as internal conditioning for the synovial fluid.
Internal conditioning. So they are basically trying to thicken the oil.
Yes. They claim to target that root cause we just talked about, the loss of hyaluronan. The idea is to supply the joint with the specific nutrients it needs to restart that production and stop the degradation. They want to turn that watery fluid back into the thick, shock-absorbing jelly you had when you were 30.
Which is a really compelling pitch, but I want to be crystal clear for the listener here. This isn't a painkiller, right? Like if I take this and then go try to run a marathon tomorrow, I'm still going to be hurting.
Oh, absolutely you will. And the sources are very explicit about that. This is not ibuprofen. It does not numb your nerves. It is a structural support supplement.
Right.
Think of it like this. If your car engine is making a terrible grinding noise because it's out of oil, you could just turn up the radio to drown out the noise. That's what a painkiller does.
Just putting tape over the check engine light.
Exactly. Tape over the light. Biodynamix is claiming to actually pour oil back into the engine. And that process takes time. You cannot rehydrate a dried-out sponge in 20 minutes. It takes weeks of consistent saturation to get that plumpness back into the tissue.
I really like that word, plumpness. In this context, it feels like the exact opposite of that brittle, stiff feeling we all dread.
It is the opposite. And that leads directly to the psychological shift the sources talk about.
Yeah.
Because when you physically feel brittle, you move differently.
Oh, man. This is the former athlete syndrome. I know so many people who used to be incredibly active. They played football, they ran 5Ks on the weekends, and now they are terrified of their own bodies.
Yes, the source material calls this the movement confidence gap, and it spends a lot of time on it. It describes this vicious cycle of fear. You feel a twinge in your knee, your brain immediately says, danger, don't do that again.
So you stop squatting to pick things up. You stop taking the stairs.
Right, and because you stop moving, the pump stops.
The pump stops, the cartilage starves.
The cartilage starves, the joint gets even stiffer, and then your brain says, see, I told you it was bad. Becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of physical decay.
So the goal of using a product like Biodynamix isn't just to make the pain magically go away. It's to get the confidence back so you actually can move, which then naturally feeds the joint.
Exactly. It's entirely about breaking that cycle. If the supplement can grease the gears just enough that you can stand up without that 10-second buffer time, you're significantly more likely to go for a walk. And if you walk, you feed the cartilage. It's a positive feedback loop.
Speaking of walking, I want to get into the really practical stuff now. Because to their credit, the source material doesn't just say, buy our pills and good luck to you.
No, they don't.
They outline a very holistic approach. They call it the 4 pillars of mobility.
And I'm really glad they included this in their literature, because a supplement in isolation is never the whole answer to a biological problem.
Let's break these pillars down, because this is the actionable stuff you listening can start doing right now, today. Pillar number 1 is daily movement, but they're very specific about the type of movement.
They are. They aren't talking about high-intensity interval training. They aren't telling you to go crush it at the CrossFit gym. They're talking about low-impact, high-frequency movement.
Why is the frequency more important than the intensity here?
Go back to the sponge analogy. If you squeeze a sponge once, really, really hard, it gets wet for a second.
Hmm?
But if you gently squeeze and release it 1,000 times in a row, you are constantly flushing it with fluid.
Right.
Walking is the ultimate sponge squeezing activity. It cycles the pressure on the knees and hips rhythmically.
So for the person sitting at a desk right now, the desk worker is listening to us, their sponges are currently dry.
Bone dry. The fluid is settled. The oil isn't circulating at all. This is exactly why they emphasize that you have to get up, even just for 2 minutes every hour, just to engage that pump.
Okay, moving to pillar number 2. Hydration. We touched on this earlier, but let's just clarify. If I'm taking the supplement to hold the water, I still need to drink the actual water, right?
Correct. You need both the bucket and the water. Systemic dehydration affects literally everything in your body. If your blood volume drops because you're dehydrated, your body prioritizes the heart and the lungs.
That makes sense.
It literally pulls water out of the joints to keep your vital organs alive.
Oof. So my knees are basically being sacrificed to keep my heart beating.
Biologically speaking, yes. So drink your water. It is the non-negotiable baseline.
Okay, pillar number 3. This one surprised me a bit when I read it because it felt like a detour, but it actually makes so much sense. Muscle strength. But specifically, the glutes.
The glutes are the unsung heroes of knee health.
Explain that connection for us, because if my knee hurts, I look at my knee, why should I be looking at my butt?
Because your glutes act as the steering wheel for your femur, your thigh bone. If your glutes are weak, which is extremely common if we sit in chairs all day, your femur rotates internally. It twists inward.
And the knee is just the hinge caught in the middle of that twist.
Exactly. The knee is a hinge joint. It handles up and down motion beautifully. It absolutely hates twisting. If your glutes don't control that internal rotation, your knee takes all the torque. And that torque grinds the cartilage. So strengthening the glutes actively takes the mechanical stress off the joint.
So it's not just about having strong legs for the sake of it. It's about preserving the mechanics of the joint.
It's about suspension. You want your muscles to take the load of your body weight, not your skeleton.
And then pillar number 4 is the joint support nutrition, which is where the Biodynamix supplement fits in.
Right. It's the raw material. You have the movement to act as the pump, the water to be the fluid, the strength to provide the protection, and the nutrition to fix the chemistry. If you have all 4 of those, you have a fully functional mobility system.
I really love that framework. It makes the whole thing feel manageable. It's not just this vague dread of getting old. It's a system check. You can ask yourself which part of the system is failing. Maybe you're strong, but you're dehydrated. Or maybe you're hydrated, but your synovial oil is too thin.
Exactly. It allows you to troubleshoot your own body instead of just giving up.
So for the listeners who want to troubleshoot right now, the source actually outlines a 30-day mobility reset plan. And I want to get into the weeds on this because it's really actionable.
It's a great little protocol. They have a very low barrier to entry.
Walk us through it. Day 1. What are we doing?
It starts with a 20-minute brisk walk daily.
Yeah.
That is non-negotiable.
And what does brisk mean in this context?
It means you're moving with purpose. You aren't just window shopping. You want to get the heart rate up slightly, but mainly you just want that consistent rhythmic compression of the joints we talked about.
Got it. Then the plan mentions 5 minutes of mobility drills. Can you give us a real-world example of what that actually looks like? Because mobility drill can sound a bit intimidating.
Sure. Think about it as cooking the joint. You just want to move the joint through its full range of motion without any heavy load on it. For the hips, this might be standing and doing big, slow circles with your knee. Imagine you are trying to step over a really high fence and then bringing your leg back around.
Okay, I can visualize that, like opening the gate.
Opening the gate, exactly. You're telling your nervous system, look, we can move this far, it's safe. For the ankles, it's as simple as writing the alphabet with your toes while you sit at your desk.
Writing the alphabet with your toes. I love that.
I know it sounds silly, but it lubricates the ankle joint from every possible angle. And it takes maybe 2 minutes.
So we have the daily walk, the mobility drills, and then the strength training.
Just 2 days a week for the strength. And keep it incredibly simple. Squats to a chair. You do not need a barbell. Just stand in front of your dining room chair, sit down, and stand back up. Do that 10 times. You are engaging those exact glutes and quads we talked about.
And then, obviously, the daily biodynamic support to handle the internal chemistry side of things.
Right. It's the chemical support that makes all that physical work you're doing more effective.
Here's a big question, though. How do we measure success on a plan like this? Because the old wear and tear mindset says success means zero pain. But if we are rebuilding hydration over time, what should I actually be feeling?
That is a fantastic question. The source specifically warns against using a standard pain scale as your only metric, because pain is really complex and it can be noisy. Instead, they suggest tracking your buffering time.
The morning wait time we talked about?
Exactly. If today it takes you 15 seconds to stand up straight when you get out of bed, and in 3 weeks it only takes you 3 seconds, that is a massive biological victory. That means the fluid is actually working.
I really like that approach. Or maybe tracking how long you can walk before you feel that heavy drag in your legs.
Right. Track your capacity. The moment you say to yourself, wow, I walked for 20 minutes and didn't think about my knees once, that absence of awareness is the true goal. When your body is working correctly, you don't even notice it.
The absence of awareness, that is profound. Because when you're in pain, your body is loud. It's just screaming at you constantly.
It is. The ultimate goal is silence. A silent, smoothly operating joint.
I want to circle back to something you said earlier about movement confidence, because we definitely have a lot of listeners who might be feeling pretty skeptical right now. They've tried the expensive creams, they've tried the copper braces, they feel like they've tried everything. Why is this specific approach any different?
I think the real difference is the mechanism of action. Creams are topical. They just distract the surface nerves. Braces are external. They hold the joint together physically because your muscles aren't doing the job. This approach, the combination of hydration and targeted movement, is internal. It's asking the body to repair its own environment.
It's treating the body as if it's actually capable of repair, rather than just managing a slow decline.
Precisely. It's a fundamental shift from palliation, which is just masking the symptoms, to true restoration.
Now, looking at the timeline they suggest, 30 days, is that really enough time?
You will feel a difference in 30 days. Absolutely. The source says you should start noticing that smoothing out effect. But let's be realistic here. Biology is slow. Connective tissue is very slow to change. To really remodel that joint environment, you're looking at a consistent lifestyle change. The supplement's the kickstart, but the habits, the daily walking, the hydration, that is the long game.
It's not a magic 30-day fix, it's a 30-day reset.
Correct. You are just resetting your baseline.
So who is this really for? If you had to pick the exact avatar for this deep dive, who desperately needs to hear this right now?
I think it's specifically for that person we mentioned earlier, the not injured, just not fluid person.
Yeah.
You aren't scheduling a total knee replacement surgery for next week, but you also aren't playing tag in the yard with your kids because you're terrified you'll pay for it the next day. You exist in that middle ground of tolerable stiffness.
The gray zone of mobility.
Yes, the gray zone, and that is the absolute danger zone, because that is where you make the subtle, subconscious decision to just stop moving. And once you stop moving, the slide down is really fast. This protocol is the brake pedal. It's you saying, no, we aren't going down that road.
That is really empowering to hear, because a tolerable stiffness is just so easy to ignore. We just learn to live with it. We groan when we get out of the car. We make a little joke about getting old, and we move on.
But the joke just masks the reality that the joint is literally starving for nutrients.
Well, I am certainly going to look at my water bottle a lot differently today. And I might actually do those ankle alphabets under my desk during our next meeting.
I'm actually doing them right now.
Multitasking. I love it.
Always. Keep the pump moving.
I want to leave everyone listening with a final thought from the source material that I found really striking. They said, moving well isn't about being young. It's about staying capable.
Capability. That is the magic word right there.
It completely changes the goalpost. I'm not trying to trick my body into being 25 again. I'm trying to be capable of fully living my life at 50, 60, or 70.
It's about freedom. The freedom to say yes to the weekend hike. The freedom to say yes to picking up your grandchild. If you have the physical capability, you have the freedom.
And that capability all starts with the sponge. You have to keep it wet, and you have to keep it moving.
Do not let it dry out.
So here is my final challenge to you listening right now. Pay close attention to your buffer time tomorrow morning. Count the actual seconds it takes to stand up. And ask yourself a serious question. Are you just accepting that stiffness as your inevitable fate? Or are you ready to invest in your capability? Because as we've learned today, you can actually fix the oil.
You definitely can.
Thanks for diving in with us today. Go drink a big glass of water, take a brisk walk, and let's keep those hinges moving. We will see you on the next deep dive.
Stay fluid, everyone.